Here he comes.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I see Slattery's there.
Yes. We haven't
As
started
ugly
yet.
on there as it goes.
Thank you.
Same with me. I don't know why. That's why I don't like to do that.
Oh, you don't know. Do you have your book?
And I see the smile on your face, too.
Yes.
Everyone can hear you.
Chief might have.
Yeah. I did.
You want them both on?
What?
I drove it. I drove that.
Say hello, Bill.
Okay, so Commissioner
Hello.
Murphy is on Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, works.
All right.
Very good, thank you.
All right, good afternoon. We are going to start by having Pastor Rachel Danner give the invocation. If we could please stand. Okay, Pastor.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for the ways that you call us to be your people, the ways that you gift us to care for one another. Lord, we thank you for these times when we can use our fiscal responsibilities to do your work, when we can share in this land, in this community, and follow where you lead for the goodness of all. Lord, we ask that you be with us during this meeting, that we can follow your lead, discern your ways, and hear where you are taking this country, this world, and this community. Lord, we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. I now officially call our meeting to order. All right, Tina, if you would please call the roll.
Mayor Young,
Present.
Vice Mayor Wilcox.
Present.
Commissioner Greenlee,
Present.
Commissioner Murphy,
Present.
Commissioner Slattery.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, I will now open up, thank you, Tina. I will now open up for our public forum. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items that are not on the agenda may do so at this time when called upon by the mayor. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Again, speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should give their name and address when addressing the commission. Any presentation is for informational purposes only. Any and all written communication should be deposited with the city clerk. At this time, we will open for our public forum. And if anyone would like to address the commission on the items that are not on the agenda, yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Diane Smith. I live off of North 12th Street.
Okay.
And my concern is when you head south on 12th Street, everyone knows that hill that's there, and the first road is Kearney, and when the people are heading east on Kearney, they have to pull so far out to see if anything's coming over the hill. I think to put a mirror up there would be a good idea, because it makes you stop. Even if you're doing the speed limit, it's a shock to see somebody pull out that far. And heading further south, trying to cross Kansas is not any easier. You can't see what's coming from the west side, from the east side, because of the cars parked there. So you're pulling out to make sure you can go. But that would be another place to consider, I think, putting a mirror, those two places.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was 12th and Kearney and 12th and Kansas?
Yes.
That's right. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to address the commission on items that are not on the agenda? Okay. All right. I am closing the public forum in 3, 2, 1. Public forum is closed. At this time, we will have our consent agenda by Mr. Mark Westhoff. Mr. Westhoff.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We have 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. The first is is to approve the minutes from the June 16th, 2025 City Commission meeting. The second is to approve the minutes from the June 23rd, 2025 special City Commission meeting. And the third is to authorize the mayor to sign the KDOT aviation grant agreements for the apron expansion project, AV 2023-01SA, Atchison 21025, and AV 2023-02SA, Atchison 21125. These are extensions from KDOT for the grant project to extend the airport at the apron at the airport, excuse me.
Okay, all right, very good. Anyone have any questions?
No
Concerns?
changes from any previous budgeting.
No, it's just to extend the timeline to get that work done.
I move we accept that consent agenda.
Okay,
As read.
all right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as read. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, wonderful. Before we move on to new business, Commissioner Murphy, as you are on Zoom, are you able to hear us okay? Is there a delay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. There is a delay.
Yes. I can hear you. It's a little choppy.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
Voting on the consent agenda?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, I vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And at some point, if you need us to slow down or you cannot hear, please raise your hand, okay?
What was the question again?
If at any time you cannot hear us, just raise your hand.
Raise my hand?
Yes, if you cannot hear us.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Okay, at this time, we will have our first new business, ordinance number 6721, presented by Mr. Curtis Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am here to present to you the rezoning, or the request of a rezone for 311 North 8th Street from a B4 to an R1. This was approved by the Planning Commission June 4th of this year, recommending that they recommended the City Commission's approval. It is a single-family house. The owner is in the process of refinancing, and in order to do that, I guess it has to be an R1. You'll notice on the map that, it's everything above kind of Santa Fe is primarily residential, but it still ended up at some point in time getting the B4 designation, but I don't see this causing any issues. And again, the Planning Commission also approved.
Okay. Okay, all right. Any questions for Mr. Wheeler? Okay, if there are no questions, then I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 6721. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
All right, is there a second?
Second it.
All right, it's been
There's no
moved.
objections to it here, though?
Is there a question?
Yeah.
Any
The Planning
objections?
Commission held a public hearing
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
item, and there were no objections.
Good, yeah.
Okay, and it was a unanimous vote, I'm assuming, from the commission?
correct.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 6721, an ordinance amending Article 1 zoning and subdivision regulations of the City of Atchison, Kansas, thereby rezoning 311 North 8th Street as R1, single-family residential district, revising the zoning map of the City of Atchison, Kansas, and repealing any amendments that are not in compliance with the revised zoning map for the City of Atchison, Kansas. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye.
Do you have a
Yes,
question?
Mr. Murphy?
No, an aye.
Aye, okay, very good. All right, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. All right, next, we have our 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report presented by Mr. Westoff and also Stacy Hammonds of BT and Company.
Okay, so obviously the city undergoes an annual audit. We've contracted with the BT and Co. for a number of years. We've been pleased with their services. I'm going to mostly hand it over to Stacy to do her report on the annual audit, and then at the end, if you so choose, you may adopt the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report as presented. Just as a note, we did meet with the Audit and Budget Committee, which is a committee of city staff and citizens, and they all received this same report, had some questions answered, and ultimately reviewed the audit as well. So, Stacy.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stacy Hammond, a partner on the city's annual financial statement audit, and I'm pleased to be here to present the results of that audit. I think all of you have received 2 documents from us. One of them is a copy of the audited financial statements, and the other is a report addressed to the mayor and city commission. That report that's addressed to the mayor and city commission really puts into writing items that our audit standards require us to present about the results of the annual financial statement audit, and it also forms the basis of my presentation this afternoon. If you'd like to open it up to page 1 of that report where it says required communications at the top, and the first thing I need to visit with you about is our responsibilities in performing the audit. We did perform the city's audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States, the provisions of the Single Audit Act, Uniform Guidance, Office of Management and Budget Compliance Supplement, and the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. All of those standards require us to perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Our procedures included examining, on a test basis, evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We also reviewed the accounting principles that management used, significant estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall financial statement presentation. The most important thing that I'll be telling you this afternoon is that as a result of performing those procedures, we did determine that the city's financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Therefore, we issued what we call an unmodified audit opinion, which is the best kind of opinion that the city can receive. Moving on to the... Oh, sorry. Yes, that's an excellent result. Moving on to the accounting policies and practices section of the report. Here we would bring to your attention anything identified in the procedures that we performed related to changes in existing accounting policies, newly adopted accounting policies, significant or unusual transactions, or significant estimates. There's a couple of items in this area to report this year. First, the city did implement a new accounting standard titled Compensated Absences, which updated the recognition and measurement guidance for compensated absences. Second, the city does have several significant estimates that are summarized in the Summary of Significant Accounting Estimates on pages 6 through 8 of this report. Every year, we analyze the process that the city has in place to measure and record these accounting estimates. And as a result of this work, we did conclude that the city's estimates are reasonable. In the final sections of this report on pages 3 and 4, titled Observations about the Audit Process, we would document any concerns or issues that might have come up during the audit. If we'd had any disagreements with management, significant difficulties in performing the audit, anything like that. I'm pleased to report that there were no matters in any of these areas that we need to bring to your attention. Management of the city was extremely transparent in answering our numerous questions and very cooperative throughout the entire audit process. The final thing that I'd like to tell you this afternoon before opening it up for questions is that in the final pages of this document, you're going to see a letter addressed to BT & Co. It's 7 or 8 pages long with a bunch of numbered items on it. We call that management's representation letter, and that letter really puts into writing everything that management of the city represented to us during the audit. It's the final step of the audit process, and we like to include that in your packet so that you can see what those representations are. And we also think it helps you to fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities in being able to read that. With that, I would like to thank Mark and Reagan for setting a tone at the top that led to an excellent audit result this year. For you to achieve a good audit, it wasn't just something that happened in the few weeks that they were getting ready for us to come do the audit. You really had to have good processes and procedures in place year-round to achieve a good audit result. So thank you to them and everyone on the finance team. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions that anyone might have.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any questions? No?
Comment.
Yes.
Hope you get paid a lot of money, because this doesn't look fun.
Most people, when I do the presentation, say that it's boring, but in our world, a boring audit report is a good audit report.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Stacy.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. With that, let's see, Commissioner Murphy, did you have any questions? Okay, doesn't look like he did. All right, so we are now ready to adopt our 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report as presented.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt our 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. All of those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
He said aye.
Okay, motion carries, and it is passed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Stacy. Bye-bye. All right, moving on to number 3, Resolution 3422, authorizing the City of Atchison to enter into a temporary lease agreement with Maxuck Industries, Inc.
Thank you. So this is kind of a saga, right? It's spanning over 30 years with the city, where the city has rented this space along the riverfront to Mizzouq and their subsidiaries in the past. In 2003, the city entered into a long-term lease agreement that auto-renewed every year, ending this year on July 15th, 2025. A previous city commission a few years ago passed a resolution, Resolution 3274, stating that they did not intend to renew or sign another lease with Mizzouq, giving them notice of that, as well as letting future city commissions know that that was the intention at the time. So everyone was kind of aware that the lease was going to end this year in mid-July. Mizzouq reached out to us a few months ago and said, we are working on cleaning up and getting out, but we need a little more time. The city commission told me that you were interested in that arrangement, and so in order to facilitate that, since there was a previous resolution stating the city will not enter into a new lease, we would need a new resolution stating we understand that, we're going to enter into a short-term lease, and then the actual lease agreement, which we wrote to end December 31st, 2025.
Okay, and Mizzouq agrees that this is enough time for them to...
Yes, yeah, we negotiated the lease terms with them, which are substantially similar to the previous terms, just with a clause in there saying that they will continue this cleanup process during the term of this temporary lease. They approved, they actually already came down and looked it over, so.
Okay, all right. Any questions, concerns?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Okay, okay, all right. If so, we do. So I need a motion to adopt resolution number 3422. Is there such a motion?
I move we adopt 3422.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second it.
Okay, very good. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 3422, authorizing the City of Atchison to enter into a temporary lease agreement with Mizzouq Industries, Inc. for real property located at 800 River Road, effective July 16th, 2025, and expiring December 31st, 2025, subject to terms and with no option for further extension. Is there a question? Anyone? Okay. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westhoff. All right, next we have Chief Wilson, who will present ordinance number 6720, prohibiting parking on 1200 and 1300 block of South 9th Street and on Riley Street between Washington and 2nd Street.
Thank you,
Chief.
Mayor and Commissioners. Periodically, we will have a reason to review parking situations in various locations. It can be following a concern that we may have to make a change, or it may be from a citizen or a resident who have a reason to want to change a parking situation. But if we change, whether it be no parking, restricted parking, or even time parking, it takes an ordinance to officially put that type of restricted or no parking up. In the case before you, or the Commission Action Report before you on Ordinance 6720, it actually refers to two locations, one of which is our own concern, the city. The other is based on a request by a resident who wants a change. And you probably see not only the information, but some photographs in front of you kind of depicting both locations. One of them is a short block that is a north-southbound street between, it's actually 9th Street, but it's between Green and then runs about a block to the north that ends at a residence where there's a kind of a cul-de-sac or a large driveway in front of that residence. You know, that street is only 15 feet wide. So if you can imagine, a typical alley is 15 feet. A typical street is actually, like Main Street, has 12-foot lanes. So it's barely larger than what a typical lane is. A highway lane or Main Street or Kansas Avenue are generally 12-foot width. So it gives you an idea of why we're even bringing this before you. It's just not, it doesn't have the available space to park cars in. In the case on South 9th Street, it involves a street where cars have been parked there based on large gatherings at one of only two residences that live on that street. And it's making it so that you just can't get through. So it's a very legitimate reason to request no parking. Now, one of the concerns that we, the city, or you as the commission would have is, well, where are they supposed to park if you do this? In both cases, there's only two houses on that street. They both have off-street parking. So for their own use, it shouldn't affect their ability to park at their residence. So that describes that. The other one is actually a concern that the city has, and if you can picture this, it's in the newly developed area that is occurring now, that is bordered by Mound, by Laramie, and by 2nd, and by Washington. The street is one that has been there for many, many years. It's Riley Street between 2nd Street and Washington Street. It too can be described as a 15-foot street, 15-foot wide street, much as I described South 9th. So it's just not conducive to being able to park there. In that case, there's also only several residences currently located on that piece of, or that length of Riley Street, and those residents too have off-street parking. Nobody's ever, that we've seen, need to park there. I'll tell you who has parked there that's causing concern to us has Benedictine students, because it's adjacent to the college, and they'll park there because they're just trying to find a place to park. But it's just not, again, it's not conducive to have a wide enough street. It's making it, makes it so that regular traffic can't even get through. So as that area is being developed, we have an added concern, because obviously there's going to be more traffic that's going to be in the area. So we thought that we would kind of get ahead of the game here and get this established before it becomes more congested, more reasons for somebody to park there. And so we think that in both cases, it's very justified that you consider this ordinance, so we ask you to pass the ordinance. We do need it if we're going to actually post it, no parking.
Okay, right. Any questions?
Yeah, is that 15 foot, is that the legal width of it, or is that just what it is now?
Just what it happens to be. You know, I don't know that there's necessarily a legal width. Now, KDOT has it for highways.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean, they have a right-of-way there.
Oh, the right-of-way is much wider.
Yeah,
It just has never been finished out,
right.
the full width. Most city streets don't take up the entire right-of-way.
Right.
I think there's only a couple that do. Kansas, Maine, and commercial really, or just parts of commercial.
Well, to give you, to put it in perspective, Main Street's a 56-foot wide street. So it has three 12-foot lanes, the turn lane, an eastbound lane, and a westbound lane. The two that were parking areas are both 10-foot, so when you add that up, that's 56. Compare that 56-foot street, or 12-foot lanes, to a 15-foot street. And yes, you could probably, now on South 9th, if you were to look at that, it's very difficult to even park in the right-of-way. One side you probably could, but you'd be in somebody's yard. The other side's a ditch that's right next to it. In this case, on Riley, you probably could, but again, even though it's not all yards, it will be sometime soon because of all the development. But, if we're going to discourage parking in a grassy areas, if we continue to allow parking there, that's what would, and make it so somebody can get through, they'd have to be in grass or yards. And I know that's something that the commission and the city kind of discourages of getting into yards.
Well, I see we got some no student parking signs up on,
So no student parking signs are not the city's.
well, they are.
Those are put up by private individuals or the college, but they are not ours.
Okay. I'd like to separate these two out. I went over here to the South Street one.
South 9th.
Yeah, and I drove down that street. Seems like the people on the end have had several big parties.
On Riley?
On
No,
9th.
on South. What is
South
it?
Ninth.
Yeah.
So to describe that, you've seen it then, they have had some large gatherings in the residences at the far north end. But if you look at that, I mean, I didn't count how many cars you can park there, but that is an exceptionally large parking area for a residence.
Right.
And so a daily use of that, there's been no complaints, but apparently they have the large gatherings that extend almost to 9th Street, we're told. I'm sorry, to Green Street, we're told. That then the other two, there's actually two more residences. One is actually on that street, and one of them is on Green, but their access to their residence is off of 9th Street. So two other residences are utilizing parking to their residences, and both have told us that they can't get in and out, they can't get down the street when somebody attending the large parties parks on that street.
How many times they have this party, and they said the last one they had was for the Pope. So they had a bunch of people there. I just, they had never heard about this. People at the far end, they had never heard that the city was gonna, look at. I think we ought to give them a chance to look at this.
Understood.
Understood, okay. And then you said the other two residents, are they requesting that there be no
One of those.
parking, or is it just one?
Yes, one of
One of the
them,
two.
just to look at it.
Okay, all right, I see.
What they're saying is that, hey, city, what can we do to resolve this issue? There's parking going on. I don't know they necessarily ask for no parking. They're asking for us to resolve it. Well, it's probably not a situation we're going to widen the street. The only ability for us to eliminate the parking on a 15-foot wide street. Now, we have had times where we've asked for no parking on one side. But even parking on one side, in this case, is going to make it so you can't get through. Imagine going down, just picture yourself going down one of our alleys. If somebody were to be parked on the pavement part of the alley, how you could get through, you're just not getting through. So this is one way for us to approach the situation to eliminate the problem.
Okay.
I think we should have notified the people on the back, other people before we have parking there, because they seem to have this.
Oh.
I don't know. They didn't act like they had very many parties there.
Well,
Okay.
I guess to me, it's less a concern about necessarily that situation and more of any parking on the street will block the street.
Yeah.
And so seems a reasonable situation to look at because, I mean, even if somebody were to park right here and walk down Green Street, it would block access for others down the street without having to drive off the roadway.
So see, the house that you're seeing halfway between that residence and Green Street, if they were to have several visitors that were to park, the house you're referring to, they wouldn't be able to get to their house. And then, of course, in addition to what we've talked about, a police car, we can run up there. Fire truck can't. They have to be near what they're working on. Emergent or EMS. They're not going to get through, and that's a concern too that can be expressed. Is you want to be able to get emergency vehicles in and out, and just the regular traffic. So,
Commissioners, does anyone else have any questions or concerns?
I vacillate back and forth. I understand the residents there to be an issue with them. It doesn't have to be a party. There could be
right.
all kinds of reasons they'd have other people
Yeah.
at their home. I would like us to think about on Second and Riley, about eventually making that wider as we get more residents in there.
Yeah.
You're going to need as much access as you can, and I think restrict it now with the intent of widening it, make it.
Yeah, we've talked about that in general. There are parts of it that's easier than other areas, especially as you get closer to Second Street. It gets a little tighter, but certainly it's something that we should look at in the future. There's less capability of that on 9th Street because of, like you said, the hillside on the one side and then the private drives on the other, but it's also possible there in the future. Just less overall traffic in that area.
Okay.
And less homes. I mean, you got 3 homes as
Right.
compared to.
So one benefit in the future in that area with Riley is, as First Street is completed, there is potentially, more area there for vehicles to park.
Any other questions? Commissioner Greenlee, do you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Murphy?
Do you have any questions or concerns?
I have no questions or concerns.
Okay, all right, so at this juncture, we can do,
Somebody is.
oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, you may.
I'm Marion Amrine, and I live on Mound Street.
Could you possibly talk into the microphone just so that, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, Marion Amrine, I live on Mound Street, and I've talked about how narrow Riley is. One of the concerns, it's great, no parking on Riley Street is, but when you have lots of people in the neighborhood, where are they gonna, and they're coming to visit friends, where are they gonna park? That's the concern, and they're either gonna park on Washington, they could park on Mound Street, and we already have a very tough time getting in and out of my house on Mound Street and on Second Street. And if you go up Second Street, it's hard to see. So I ask, if we're gonna have, if you continue to watch.
Hang on one second, Bill.
Hold on, Bill.
Okay, I have a question.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Mary.
Just a second, okay. Go ahead and say right.
Yeah, so my concern is if on getting out of Mound Street, Riley Street, Laramie Street, if there's more parking on Second Street, it is so hard to see around parked cars. Every time I go up Riley Street and I drive a truck or an SUV, I still can't see if anybody is coming from the north, and I'm always concerned that I'm going to get blindsided because I can't see, and I don't know what we can do about it, but it's the same thing at Riley when school's in session and we have a lot of cars.
I think we already extended the yellow lines.
We did. We need to still do
egress
Mound. There's a couple other things too I'd add. The commission did authorize a traffic study to be completed on Second Street, which we've received the results and we're about to meet with the engineer to talk them over to figure that out. And we have continued to look at, I think as the development happens in that area specifically, some possibilities for that in the future. Like I said, First Street is going in as the development goes in, which could help ease some of that. I also know they are putting in off-street parking for most of those homes that are in the development. But we do know it's an issue, especially during school, and so we're continuing to keep an eye on that area and figure out what the best solution might be.
Okay.
So, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Murphy?
Your turn, Bill.
Okay, well, my Mark just answered my question in regards to how this parking situation is going to relate to our overall street traffic study. And he just basically answered it. But I almost wonder if it would be better to not vote until we had the results of the traffic study.
Okay, so you're speaking of a table. Would, commissioners, how do you feel?
Well, the traffic study, just so the traffic study does not pertain to either of these locations specifically. I mean, it looked at traffic on 2nd Street and 3rd Street specifically, and cross-traffic.
Any change on the 2nd Street traffic would impact dramatically on coming off the cross streets.
Sure.
I think in a positive way. It would make it better, so that you can only get blindsided from one direction, not both directions. So I think there is some application of that. The other variable I would throw in is if you are going to make a decision, if a decision is made on the street up north, it should be done before the school year starts. Because if you start the school year and they've already
What about
gotten into a
24-hour? Excuse me, what about 24-hour parking? Do we look at that at all? To stop that?
But again, the problem, so there's two problems here. One is student parking pressure up around Benedictine College. That's a much larger question and a much more in-depth question to answer that requires, like we said, this traffic study and other things we're looking at. The other question is with this ordinance specifically that in some ways, no matter what that traffic study says, Riley Street is not sufficiently wide for any parking at all. That's our recommendation, is that even if that traffic study, I mean, I can't think of a result from that would change the fact that Riley Street is 15 feet wide and parking should not really be allowed on that street. When there are cars parked on that street in the past, you have to leave the roadway to get around them, which is not safe, so.
Okay. All right. Well, commissioners, what are you comfortable with? We can either, we can separate these two issues, or we can table and wait. Mark, about what timing is it for the completion of the study?
Well, the study's been completed. We haven't received it hasn't been presented to us yet.
Okay, do you know when?
But we were meeting this week on that, so.
Okay, so would that then, could we take this issue up then perhaps at our next commission meeting?
or a couple.
Or, yeah.
They've been this way for 100 years, so, you know.
I think we sure need to notify all the people on that South Street. I'm just concerned this might be some kind of a not getting along with your neighbor kind of thing, you know? Been there for all these years, and all of a sudden, somebody doesn't like somebody having a party, and I just think everybody ought to have a shot. We're going to eliminate parking there, which I think a lot of good evidence how we ought to do that. Especially if you have a fire truck wants to get down to, you'd have to get everybody out. The hose probably goes that far, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's probably not an issue that way, but anyhow, I just think you ought to notify everybody. I think everybody involved in something like that ought to get notified. Even if it's just call and say.
Yeah, okay.
All right, it sounds like then that the majority feeling is that we table this, so
I'd be good with that.
I will move that we table item number 4. Is there a second?
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we table our ordinance 6720. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
What are we,
We're tabling it.
we're tabling it?
We're tabling it, yes.
I vote for tabling.
Okay, all right. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have tabled item number 4. Okay, all right. Resolution number 3423, Brick Street Resolution, presented by Clinton McNamee. Mr. McNamee.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, so about 6 years ago, the City Commission adopted a policy for, we'll call it like-for-like replacement and improvement of street surfaces. So basically, if we have a brick street, it's our objective under normal conditions to maintain and improve it as a brick street. Same for asphalt or concrete surfaces. Tonight, and then there were some bulleted points in there about what it would take for us to deviate from that, such as some of the language is undue financial burden. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. But we have 2 blocks of city street that are currently brick streets that we are proposing tonight via adoption of another resolution to convert those to asphalt surface. One would be just a resurfacing with an overlay. The other one would be a complete removal of the brick and full depth asphalt street construction. The overlay block would be the 200 block of East Mound. So this would be the last block of Mound Street to the east end. All streets connecting to that block have already been paved with asphalt. So there's not really any continuity issues there. The streets become uneven, difficult to maneuver. You got parked cars pretty much always on one side and a lot of traffic coming in and out of the college. That makes it difficult for drivers. The other block is the 300 block of Laramie. So between 3rd and 4th Street, it's been an issue for many years now. Severely uneven. We've had some recent concrete patching on it in anticipation of converting that block to an asphalt street at some point in the near future. That's the block that we would be looking at removing the brick and replacing with full depth asphalt. We just feel that that one's so far gone that the issues that it's having would reflect up through a superficial surfacing or overlay. So we have an annual asphalt and concrete materials budget in our operations, and so we'd be looking at utilizing that rather than CIP to do that work this year.
And you were going to talk about the difference in cost,
All right, so
specifically for Laramie.
yeah, so we're looking at around, this is for us doing the work, we're looking at around $50,000 on Laramie in materials. That's about almost half, that's a little over half of our asphalt alone operations budget. If we were to redo the brick in the same method that we do our annual brick program, where it's pull out the uneven areas, excavate a foot or two, and put in compacted rock, put the brick back. If we were to apply that, it wouldn't work that way because there'd be, there'd probably be some economy of scale. But if you were to apply that $20 per square foot to that entire block, we'd be looking just under $200,000 probably. To do it, the right way by modern standards is put a concrete base under the brick. Now we're looking at over $300,000 to do one block of street.
So are you proposing to just like fill in the low spots or to pave the whole thing?
On the Mound Street block, we're looking at overlaying the entire block.
Whole thing?
On the 300 block of Laramie, we're looking at excavating out the entire thing and putting in full depth asphalt for the entire block.
Well, what about just going through there and filling in the holes?
That doesn't.
Huh?
If you just fill the holes with asphalt, it'll still drift and break away.
Well, you can see where the city has done that in decades past.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And
Yeah, it doesn't.
whenever you taper asphalt,
Yeah, when it gets thin, it wants to chip off.
it chips, and then you end up with an inch or two lip eventually, and it's a constant battle. It's all over town. I mean, yeah. So I would definitely advise against repeating those mistakes.
We've got a block up there, Laramie, it'd be about like the 1100 block of Laramie. No, I'm telling you wrong, it's not Laramie. Yeah, it'd be between the 10 and 1100 block, and it would be, what's the street where the old bottling company's on, do you know?
That's Laramie, I think.
Laramie, yeah, okay, it's
For
right
sure.
there. That's really bad right in there.
It's either Laramie or Parallel, but I think it's Laramie. Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of bad places. A lot of bad places.
That one there, I mean, you gotta slow up to drive through. It looks to me like you could go up there and take a bunch of asphalt, level it up, and hold it for a long time compared to spending $300,000.
Well, we're trying to spend $50,000.
Right.
Instead
That'll
of,
overlay the whole thing?
yeah, the 50,000 is to excavate the brick and do full depth asphalt. The 20,000 for mound is to overlay. And Mound Street receives a lot of traffic
Yeah.
every day, and it's warped to the point where cars, in order to pass that area, have to go up onto the top of the dips, which then puts you into oncoming traffic. So that one is particularly bad in that way. And then Laramie Street has structural issues underneath that need to be repaired. So then you would end up with brick, concrete patch, and it would just create just as many problems as a full repair. We've received requests from residents and businesses adjacent to both of these properties in the last year, asking for them to be paved over with asphalt as well.
I would favor redoing them both with asphalt myself for a wide variety of reasons. They had one typo, Tina, on Resolution 5, it's mound with a D.
Oh, oops.
Did amount.
And also for us, at some point in time, to revisit this previous resolution that we exchanged like for like. I think it's becoming cost prohibitive to do that. There might be there's some other reasons to want to do that, but there might be some, financially, it might be not feasible for the city to continue to do that without having huge expense.
I would probably say that I think that was anticipated in 2019. I think it was meant that this was a group decision, because sometimes, especially the brick to asphalt or other pavement conversion can be a bit of a controversy. So I think it was meant so that staff wouldn't have the ability to just go rogue and do all this on our own.
So you would
It's
like to
so that
see
it
it
has
come
to
back
come
on each
to you all.
individual situation, each time it comes up, to come back and,
That's the general idea.
Yeah, the idea was entirely just that it's a political enough thing that that's a decision that ought to be made at the politician level, the elected official level, and so that a future public works director didn't just decide, you know,
We're gonna
hell
pave
with
the
all
whole
these-
city,
all these
yeah.
bricks, let's just pave everything, and there are some implications there that are best left at the elected official level.
I would just let you know that our public works director has never said anything like that, just so you know.
Have we ever looked at just hiring
I like
like
bricks.
4 people to just work on these brick streets? Is that something not workable at all, instead of hiring some contractor? Looks like they just hire somebody off the
I
street.
mean,
to do it.
the current brick street budget per year is $35,000.
Sorry, was the question, why don't we use internal personnel to do brick street repairs?
He said hiring personnel to specifically do brick street repair.
Oh.
You're like, as a full-time job.
I mean, it's just brutal strength and awkwardness work. It's not real high tech.
Could, but 4 FTEs is $250,000 a year.
Yeah, that's the issue, so really is the budgetary one.
Yeah.
Which we're about to have budget hearing, or budget meetings on this, but in general, yeah, the current budget that the city allocates towards brick street repairs is not even 1 FTE. So if that's something you want to do, we can talk about it for sure, but it has not been the appetite of previous city commissions. I'm not going to bind you to the same, but it has not been the appetite of previous city commissions to put that much funding toward the brick street specifically. So then we have the current budget, which allows for, some spot repairs, smaller brick street projects through the contractor who does that for us.
Clinton, do you, just for the context of the conversation, do you remember the breakdown of like lane miles that are concrete versus brick versus asphalt?
as much as we have to do tonight,
Sure.
I'm going to say let's table that conversation for another time.
That's fine.
Fine.
Okay.
We take a motion at any time.
Yep.
I would move that we approve Resolution 3423.
All right, it's been moved that we adopt resolution number 3423. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 3423. Is there a question? Any question?
Let me read that
Okay.
just a second.
All right.
Where's that at on here?
It's right here on page 2, item 5.
The actual resolution is
Okay.
page 60.
Okay, you're good?
I'm
You're
good.
Okay. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those, thank you, Commissioner. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next, we have water main replacement, also presented by Mr. McNamee. Mr. McNamee.
All right, so we've done one of these projects already. Originally conceived of, the idea was alternating design and construction every other year in the CIP. And so we've done one design, one construction project, another design, and now we're on the second construction project in this program. And the main idea is to target areas of frequent main breaks and get those areas updated. And it's been an ongoing process. The commission approved this design back in November of '23. It's taken us this long to get here to the bids. We've already reduced scope during the design process to try to keep the numbers within a feasible budget. And the areas that we're looking at are the 1400 block alley between Commercial and Kansas Avenue, Bellevue Drive, which is technically in the county, but they are city water customers along that, the Mound Drive, and the 800 block of North 12th Street. We got 3 bids back. The low bid was $996,070 from Mainline Contractors out of Horton. The significantly higher price when you look at the linear feet compared to the one from about 3 years ago.
What was that, what'd you say?
I said the price increase when you look at the price per foot of main replacement is considerably higher than it was a few years ago. We did a similar amount, actually slightly higher amount, for $576,000 a few years ago. So it's another example that seems to be a reoccurring trend here, that we're getting bids back a lot higher than what we, even when we budget for a cushion, we're seeing a lot higher bids. So this one has been delayed a bit, which actually potentially is helpful, because this was originally budgeted for $600,000 in 2024. We didn't get to it in 2024. The money, in theory, is still there. We didn't do something else, in place of it. And then in 2026, we've got $550,000 budgeted for it. So if we're looking at a 25/26 project, they're talking about getting started in the fall. It would probably take them throughout the winter to do this. To split those two combine those two budgets, $1,150,000 to do a $996,000 contract. I'm going to ask for $25,000 in change order authority, and then at a later point, I will probably also come back to ask for approval on a construction inspection contract with an engineering firm. We tried to do the inspections ourselves last time. Proved to be too many pieces in motion at once, and it was somewhat problematic for staff to keep up with. So staff has asked me to utilize that budget, since we have it, to try to get a inspection contract incorporated into it.
So what was the next bid up from this one here?
$1,365,000.
$400,000 difference.
$400,000 difference.
Basically.
With that company I've been telling you about out there.
And you said, Clinton, that we budgeted for this in '24 and then '25. You can combine those two.
So the way the budget works was '24, there was a project budgeted. In '25, we were going to start another design for the next one.
Okay,
And then in '26, the next one. So we're actually taking two project budgets
okay.
and putting it together. So moving forward, we'll either have to budget more to get a similar amount of work, or we will have to reduce scope
Okay.
and do maybe a half to 2/3 of the work that we had set when we initially set the pace for how much we could accomplish with, it was initially 500,000. And then that first one ended up being 576. Then we were looking at 600, but it came in at 996. And so, yeah, probably a combination of both. Probably ask for a little bit more budget and also dial back on how many linear feet of main that we asked to replace next time.
What do you anticipate this inspection company gonna cost?
I would guess in the range of 50 to 75.
Well, I think that's something we ought to do ourselves. Or somebody with some kind of experience to check on them. Not
That's
that
what,
difficult.
that's what, well, staff's telling you it is difficult. That's the point of the recommendation from staff. But that's not on the table today, so we can
Okay.
discuss that when it comes back to
Okay.
the table.
Right, does anyone else have any questions?
So
for
and
Paul?
none of this is grants,
Nope.
all out of our
This is
pocket, right?
CIP, city money, from the water budget specifically.
Okay.
So the idea is to reduce the number of main breaks and also reduce the amount of service disruptions to our customers.
What kind of
Okay.
pipe goes in there now?
Are these the galvanized small ones? That's what I was gonna ask. The small galvanized mains, is that what this series, are they still?
I'm not exactly sure what the material of all of them are. I wouldn't say that they're small. I think most of them are in the 6-inch range. So, which is not necessarily small, but yeah. That's, I just had that conversation with because I was seeing if we were putting in much bigger pipe than we did on the last project, but he said it was pretty similar.
This is C900 PVC.
So the amount of money needed in the 2024 budget is still there, correct?
Correct.
And we budget, our discussion here in a little while about budget, you're anticipating budgeting for the remainder in 2026, correct?
Yes, it's in the current CIP for 2026,
Budget,
which will, yeah,
I guess the proper way to say it is the fund balance
yes, is
for that
appropriate
amount
to
is
cover it.
still there.
But you don't know if it's a plastic pipe or a,
Oh, no, anything we're putting in new will be plastic.
I thought he said something about a galvanized pipe.
I know, I think he was saying that's what we might be replacing.
No, it's on.
It's replacing the galvanized, the new is the PVC.
Right.
Okay, all right. Any other concerns?
well, it's a big concern, it's almost $1 million.
It is.
But Commissioner Greenlee just said it's not gonna get any cheaper.
No.
We just
Yeah.
found out it got more expensive from when we didn't do it the last time.
We got $400,000 under the next bid up. That's a big savings there.
Well,
Yeah, considering.
I mean, it's not going to change overnight, but just one of the other perspectives to look at is the more we defer replacements of these, the more main breaks we have, emergency situations, service disruptions, the more people we'll need to hire and/or contractors to handle multiple main breaks. I mean, our crew is already,
Yep.
it's whittled down to the bare minimum to get by without people noticing too much. If it gets much worse than that, people will notice. There'll be, I mean, these guys, especially during the winter.
And we are
have 2,
hiring,
3, 4
so
days in
if
a row
anyone
sometimes.
would like a job, that department is hiring as well, for multiple positions.
So, but I don't want to give the false impression that this solves all of our problems. This only addresses a small percentage of the city.
Sure.
That's right.
You know, there's
Yeah,
still,
yes.
What percentage of the city's left that you think we need to cut, and do something with there pretty soon? Stop these.
I say they're never, unless you were to do all the pipes in one year, I don't think there will ever be a year where anybody's going to stand here and say, we're good this year.
Well, I mean,
Because-
what percentage of them you think you see is right now, from your experience, what percentage do you think of 4 or 5 more projects like this ongoing, or every
No,
year
I-
or something like this?
I think that's what I'm saying. I think if we spent $1 million a year every year, it would be, I'd be
It'll take
probably
time.
retired before we got to that point of.
I mean, this is, it's infrastructure ages, always. So this will always be as soon as you finish with this round of water main replacements, you'll go back to the water main replacements that you started in the 80s. So it is an ongoing process in managing city infrastructure of this kind.
I have two quick things. First, a lot of the larger city utilities, their metric that they try to hit is replacing 1% of the system, and then you would be replacing everything every 100 years.
Yep.
Which seems, we don't come close to that, and it's closer to like 0.1% is what we actually replace. Second, I would say most of the things that during my time that have been replaced here are not the things from 100 years ago. They're the things from the post-war, the galvanized small mains, the shotgun neighborhoods, think like 1400 block of commercial, Guthrie Circle, like that era, 50s, 60s, early 70s. The stuff, that stuff has been the most troublesome to us. So I don't know that the 1% rule matters, but the stuff from 100 years ago seems to be doing better than the stuff from 50 years ago.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Commissioner Murphy, I saw your hand go up at one point. Did you have a comment or concern?
Do you have a comment or concern?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so at this point, I would entertain a motion to authorize this award.
I'll move that.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we authorize staff to award the water mains replacement contract to mainline contractors in the amount of $996,070 with an additional $25,000 of budget authority for change orders. Is there a question? If not, let's move to voting. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Off to our communications.
Okay. A few items in communications, were all letters from the state, a letter from Commerce granting a requested extension that the City Commission approved for one of the CDBG projects in town, and then 3 letters from the Kansas Historical Society regarding 2 properties that we previously discussed that had applied for historic status, confirming that they were approved for nomination to the Register of Historic Places in Kansas, which is good news for those property owners. So that's all I had in communications, and then I have my city manager update and information.
Yes, please.
Okay. Elephant Park City Crews have completed our part of the demolition work there. So the grading for the splash pad was supposed to begin this week, but the contractor was a little delayed, so they'll be getting out there soon. And just a note, the main contractor has reached out to us and indicated that they're having trouble with the timeline on the parts for the splash pad. They will likely not be delivered until October. We were kind of hoping we might have it running at the end of this summer, but it's looking like they might not be able to get that done. So we'll keep you updated. We had our neighborhood cleanup on Friday, June 20th. It was a really big success. We had city staff volunteering and doing a lot of the work in the neighborhood there on the south side by Jackson Park. We hope to continue holding these events through our partnership with the Fuller Center into the future. Grants are now open through the through the Treasury Department for community talent recruitment, and it's called the Home in the Heartland program. Justin and I are working with a vendor to put together a grant application for the city of Atchison to try to recruit new residents to our city from out of state. So we'll let you know how that goes. Santa Fe Depot, we had a couple projects there this summer. The HVAC replacement work is mostly complete. They have one part to replace still. And once this is complete, we'll move forward with the historic tax credit process. Again, let you know how that goes. The concrete work there is done, but one section up near the tracks has been identified that it needs to be removed because there's a broken wire underneath that connects to the stoplights, connects the stoplights to the train arms, so they need to replace that, so it'll be removed and replaced. The US 59 resurfacing is mostly complete, so don't speed, but it's done. We have the Safe Streets for All survey. They extended that, is open through the end of July, so we invite again, anyone who is interested to take that survey, let us know how we can improve the streets. We put out our technology upgrade RFPs. There are 4 RFPs out right now, open for bids. They close on July 14th. The U Street Bridge contractor is back on site after they had some change orders approved by KDOT. Their new target completion date is July 18th. So hopefully that can get done. The South Head Works, we're continuing to work with KDHE, the EPA, and the Army Corps of Engineers to ensure this project gets completed. It's a process. Everybody's all working together on it. I wanted to say thank you to Reagan, Melissa, Laura, and Emily, as well as our Budget and Audit Committee for really great work on the audit process. They worked really hard on that, stayed late many times or worked on weekends, so thank you to all of them. And then obviously the Amelia Earhart Festival is in town, July 17th through the 19th. It's the largest single tourist weekend for Atchison. And we just encourage all residents and visitors to get out and enjoy the festivities. Information can be found on the Amelia Earhart Festival Facebook page, as well as visitatchison.com. And then there's flyers all over town as well with that information.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Westhoff. All right. With no questions for Mr. Westhoff, governing body comments, starting with Commissioner, well, we'll start with you're ready? We'll start with Commissioner Greenlee. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I don't have anything.
Okay, all right, thank you. Vice
I'd
Mayor
like to thank
Wilcox.
Reagan and her crew also, because I had enough budget experience to know that is a challenge. And as we move into our budgeting here later, we'll have some things to kick around, but we don't have the troubles that they have in some other places like Texas right now, and we're pretty fortunate to not have those kind of issues.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Commissioner Slattery?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Murphy?
Do you have any comments?
I have no comments today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and just a few for me. I concur with Vice Mayor Wilcox on commending our financial staff. Thank you very, very much. Also, with encouraging our citizens to please keep thoughts and prayers for those who are suffering in Texas. That's a huge tragedy, and they need all of our support. Additionally, I would actually like to recognize 3 young men who were recent graduates of Atchison High School. If you go downtown, you will notice that we have new banners up, and that is thanks to Eric Smith III, Jace Richards, and Evan Martin. They helped Joe, who is our executive director for the chamber, and they physically put up all of the banners. So as you go downtown and you're enjoying the new banners, please think of 3 wonderful young men, Eric Smith III, Jace Richards, and Evan Martin. We thank you very much. As you know, we are all encouraging everyone to really take part in our city and to volunteer, so I'm very proud of those gentlemen. With that, I will entertain a motion of adjournment to our land bank. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Slattery, seconded by the Vice Mayor, that we adjourn to Land Bank. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned to Land Bank.
Do you all need a break, or do you want to roll right into it?
Let's roll.
Okay, wait for Pat to get back. And
Yes.